Welcome to the InProperty podcast. I'm your host, Simon Jens, and I'm the founder of Antler, the marketing agency for SME house builders. On this podcast, I speak to inspirational people in property. Hit the follow button and be the first to learn about new episodes as soon as they drop. So Trevor, explain your role to me as though you're explaining it to a 5-year-old.
In essence, I'm an estate agent. I buy and sell houses for people. That is what I do. I've got a 9-year-old boy, Rupert, and he's kind of, well, Daddy, what do you actually do when you go to work? I facilitate people moving house, is the core basis of what I do. But of course, I do so much more than just that. I'm the CEO and founder of the Private Office Real Estate. We are a multidisciplinary business, and within that we have real estate, which is kind of the heartland of where I'm from and what I do. That happens to be in the super prime space. But we also have a lifestyle business and a travel business, and we have lots of verticals in the space of ultra high net worth, probably. I couldn't explain that to a 5-year-old like
perfect.
that. So what do? I buy and sell houses. They just happen to be quite extraordinary houses, I guess.
Amazing. And there's so much I want to get into with that. But to begin with, can you tell me your journey? So how do you go from, day one to getting to this point in your career?
Yeah, I started out in agency at 17, which is really young. As soon as I could get a driving license, because of course you've got to drive in agency, I wanted to do it. Estate agency, there's quite a low barrier to entry. I am not academic. I'm not ever going to be the smartest guy in the room. I might be the hardest working guy in the room, but I'm never going to be the smartest guy in the room. So agency, low barrier to entry, but you've got to have all of the fundamentals and understandings of business. And actually, as my career's grown, I've realised how much more of that I needed than day one. So I started out in a small local agency, buying and selling houses for people. Average value, £500,000. The average sale price at the private office last year, average was £8 million. We're earning fees more valuable than the original house's total value that I was selling. But that was almost my favourite time in agencies. It's high volume, it's quick, you're honing your art, you're learning what it takes to be able to buy and sell houses actually and deal with people, and all of those skills that really matter today in everything that I do, I was able to do then. I probably didn't have the confidence to be as authentic as I am today because I thought I had to be this super polished three-piece suit. Yeah, oh my God, this is what it looks like guy. But I learned so much. So early days.
And why did you start an agency? Had you always fancied being an estate agent? Was there a reason why you...
Easy. I see that they had cars, they had mobile phones. These guys were at the time wearing pinstripe suits and it all looked a little bit flashy and they could afford a bottle of champagne, which was probably rubbish at the time. But I wanted a bit of it. There was a lifestyle element around it that I was really attracted to. And it's probably not the things that I'm attracted to today, but low point of entry, big tick for me. Exciting, people. For me, this is going to sound terrible, it's always people over property. It's about the person I'm going to deal with, it's who I'm working with. I have the privilege there of selling some of the finest houses in the world, but it's about the people that are buying and selling them. So it was that low barrier to entry, exciting, little bit of lifestyle. I thought these guys and girls were earning a load of money, and comparatively, I grew up in a council estate, they were earning a load of money.
Amazing.
And they were able to impact people's lives. And things like that for me today is actually what matters most. I'm helping people at their most vulnerable times. Either they have extreme wealth and therefore are doing something amazing in their life, or it isn't quite working as they want to be and they have to recalibrate a little bit. And I'm able to impact that. That's a real privilege. So that was the reason that I got into it. My first ever job was in a conveyancing lawyers in Guildford. My mum had passed away. I was on work experience during that time at 15. And that firm, I was never going to go to college or university. Number one, because I'm not bright enough. But number two, my life had just changed so significantly. I needed to go and work. I was doing my work experience there, and my job was edging conveyancing plans with a red pen. But literally 1 to 1,000. 1, 2, 3. So I was learning about property without really knowing it. It was a family firm and they were amazing. And they could see, I hope maybe I had something more or different about me. And they said about agency, and did you know actually there's another part of what this business is, and it's buying and selling these things, and maybe you'd be quite good at it. Either they wanted to get me out, were suggesting I take another route in life, or they recognised really generously that I had a skill set that wasn't academic. And then I got into agency and learnt the ropes. And
that was local agency, small local firm?
Exactly, small local firm. I didn't have a clue. I'd never known anyone that had bought or sold a house. I didn't come from that environment at any value, but loved it. And within a year, I'd become like their top sales guy and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't say that with any ego. Respectfully, it probably wasn't that hard to become their number one guy, but amazing. And then I was spotted by other firms and people start to see that you've got a little bit of talent and you're doing things differently. I then joined Savills, a big global PLC, young, very quickly kind of climbed through the ranks and became a name that was recognised. No, actually Cobham. Okay. A kind of real captain of industry in our industry was setting up Savills in Cobham. A guy called Ian Camplin, one of my closest pals and an amazing mentor in life for me. And he was opening it and I rang Ian, was like, I need to get a job with you. Like, how does this work? And he was like, you're a million miles off working for me. And I basically begged him to just let me in. Give me the most junior role that you're ever going to have in that business, but let me learn from you and be around you and that kind of thing. And I did, and very quickly I kind of climbed those ranks. Really fortunate for me, Chelsea Football Club had arrived in Cobham in the same year as we opened Savills in Cobham. Ian was a mover and shaker, everyone knew who he was. I was young enough to understand that space. I'm not a football fan, but those guys who were there, they weren't that much older than me. So I was someone who was authentic, telling the truth, knew how to make a deal, relatable. And all of a sudden, I did something like 65 deals in 8 months because I was then the go-to guy for these people. And all of a sudden, then my career started to snowball. It did some amazing things. And I was super, super proud of the position that I'd kind of created, but still quite local. It was still in Cobham. It didn't have any kind of scope outside that, but became someone in our industry that people knew that Trevor did the deals for footballers. And that was kind of traveling and getting around and all of that kind of stuff. So for my ego, it was absolutely amazing. I was the guy in that space. Knight Frank then came along, offered me a partnership at 25, the youngest ever in their history. They wrote a check that was significant in those times. I believe it was the highest paid deal in residential agency at that time. And I was 25. I was never saying no. Yeah. Joined that business, did some very, very, very significant things that made front pages of paper significant. So some mind-blowingly large deals. Savills picked up the phone and were like, shit, we probably shouldn't have let you go. We probably should have made the deal for you that you were telling us that you were worth. And sometimes in life, you don't know how good something is until it goes. And I had done enough in those 2 years at Knight Frank to make them go, okay.
Did you know your value at that point in time? Did you realise how valuable you were to a business?
I'll say yes. I'll say yes, and only because I knew what I was billing for them, and it was significant.
The numbers are there to be seen.
Millions. Yeah. Millions in an industry that people at my level were billing 250 grand a year. I was doing that quarterly, monthly sometimes.
And how did you manage that? Was that you on your own? Did you have a team under you?
No, me.
Okay, wow.
And amazing people around me. And at the time, a phenomenal brand, by the way. That's never been lost on me. And people think that I would have a view, having been in the 2 biggest agencies in, almost in the world, but certainly in the UK and Europe. They're
most
really
respected.
Absolutely, properly prestigious brands. And people would think now that I would bang my chest and go, it was all Trevor Kearney. No, it wasn't. I worked for 2 phenomenal businesses, like really phenomenal. And that's never been lost on me and it'll never be lost on me. And actually, creating the private office makes you go, they were really good. Because I know how hard it is to try and replicate 1% of who they were. So I did know my value. I knew my value in terms of what I was billing and the relationships that I had created. Knight Frank proved that. Yeah. They were willing to write a very, very big check to say, okay, we can see who you've become. Savills were willing to double down and beat that check to bring me back to establish what I did. So I created the London office then at Savills. I then went on to found a sports and entertainment team.
What year was this-ish?
Gosh, that was 12 years ago. Okay. And no one had done the thing in sports and entertainment. But there was myself, Ian Camplin, who I'd done the first Cobham thing with, which for me just felt beautiful. The guy who kind of let me in, I was then bringing in to do something else with me. Yeah. That was a lovely journey. Yeah. And another guy, a guy called Stephen O'Kane, who's a very good pal of mine, a big mover and shaker in the kind of the entertainment world. If there wasn't an actor, a musician that he wasn't kind of in that space with. I was the similar guy in sport. 3 of us got together. We established a sports and entertainment team. that became the most successful sports and entertainment team in property in Europe. We did that for 10 years and smashed it.
Amazing.
I sat on the residential executive board at Savills at 30. So I was just
phenomenal
doing that thing. I think one of the benefits of that is I got in at 17 and worked really, really fucking hard. Like grafted. I was learning from experts. And it was a time in agency where people were willing to give to you. They were willing to teach you or show you. Or Ian Camplin effectively gave me his little black book. He could see who I was becoming and was like, cool, he earned really well out of me too, by the way. Yeah, I helped. His career also, and hope he would tell you, that was enhanced by having me with him, but only because he was as generous as he was. And he gave me his little black book and was like, not he's done with it, but I think you can make more out of this. And by the way, he was clipping a fortune out of me, making him
amazing.
a fortune.
Yeah.
But he did that. I don't think agency does that today. So I was in the purple patch of what agency was. I didn't have the joys of the 80s where markets were booming and everyone was having a load of fun in the same way. But I had a skill set and an ability that I was able to communicate to a market and leaders around me and brands around me that just rocket fueled me. They were putting in whatever the most powerful fuel is to go keep being you, keep doing that thing. So I was really, really fortunate.
So this was kind of, I suppose, before the sort of self-employed agent model really materialised. You were demonstrating that under the banner of a brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was your name, really. You know, you had that big brand behind you, but you were the person that people were dealing with.
But people used Trevor Kearney at Savills.
It wasn't just Savills.
It really wasn't. And again, hopefully you can see that I'm not saying it was the Trevor Kearney show. I worked for, at the time, the most phenomenal brand in real estate, full stop. No one better. I was proud to carry that business card. So actually for me to leave and say I no longer want to represent that brand, that was massive. It was massive in our industry, but to me personally, I was sitting there at 38, been on a board for a long time, earning significant numbers. I was probably the top paid agent in the UK, certainly top 2, 3, 4. I had a lot of eyes on over what we were paying people at Savills and what that looked like, and I knew what I was earning in comparison to other people, and it was phenomenal in the real world. And I was willing to step away from that because actually, I say really respectfully, it had changed. It was no longer the brand that it was that I was super proud to carry the card of. And not that I have ever thought I could do it better. I knew I could do it differently. And in that difference to the world that I was looking after, because of course, your world gets much smaller. My world wasn't getting bigger. It was becoming a tiny pocket, the 1% of the 1%. I knew they needed something different that really big agency just couldn't provide for, and hence the private office. So that's a kind of long-winded way of hopefully giving you a bit of a roadmap to what that journey's looked like for me.
And so describe to me now then, what is the private office? What does that look like? Who does it serve? What's the difference between the private office and the organisation that you left that was Savills?
The private office is a real estate business that deals with the ultra-high net worth ecosystem globally. And I say the ecosystem rather than the person because we're doing so much more than just buying or selling houses for them. If you want to go and buy a super prime house globally, I want the private office to be the company you say, we better just talk to them first. Were Savills doing that? Yes, in some ways they were. And they had a private office at Savills dealing with the 1% of the 1%. But they were only doing it in one way. And they probably weren't communicating that in a way that they maybe, in my mind, should have. I didn't sit within their private office, and I was dealing with a calibre of person that absolutely should have. I did a deal at 37 million quid to a guy who read about our private office. He's like, why am I dealing with you and not them? And we had a wonderful time together, and he was exactly a Trevor Kearney client. There was a good reason why he was working with me. But I think he was slightly put out of going, I want to work with you, but why aren't you there either? And it was simply that he didn't tick the right box, or I didn't, or actually, he just wasn't seen. There was 47,000 employees in that business at the time. You're never going to be seen. I was their number one fee earner for a decade, and I was certainly seen by the business, but not everything I was doing was. 80% of what I've done throughout my career has been discreet. Nobody knows it exists. It's super confidential. So I wasn't even able to go into the business and go, I'm dealing with, and we should look after them in a different way. So I started dealing with them in the way that I do, and I could see what that looks like. And that is what the private office does every single day of the week. We have constructed a business and curated a way of looking after people that is serving the 1% of the 1% in a way they want to be looked after, in a way that I would want to be looked after. I won't execute or pull the trigger on anything unless I say that's how I would want it to be. We've taken away every pain point. I don't think anymore you can sell service. I was talking to some jet companies recently, and they were selling their business to me on the basis of service and safety. I was like, just so you know, any fucking jet that I get on, it better be safe.
Yeah, that's like the fundamental,
I take that
safety. I need to get there.
Yeah, but I just take that as a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So don't sell to me that you're safe. That's not a reason to use you. Your efficiency might be a reason to use you. Your price might be a reason for you to me to use you. All of the bits that you do that you don't tell people about might be the reason to use you. Not because you're safe or you're going to answer my email in 45 minutes. People aren't buying that anymore.
It's a given. Yeah.
They want an experience. They want people they want to feel and be understood. We understand our market and the people we look after, I promise you, better than anybody else. I'm in that ecosystem. I feel that heartbeat. Not because I grew up in it. I went to a very, very normal school. I grew up in a council estate. My mum passed away when I was 15. That was not my world. But I've integrated myself into it in a way like nobody else has. And every day, how we act, what we do, is that. Our strapline for our business is expect the exceptional. And I can tell you, between the four walls of our business, if it's not that, then people are seeing the other guy. It's got to be fucking better every day.
Yeah, amazing. And so talk to me, because there'll be people who have followed your journey and maybe are working for a big brand or a small brand and thinking, I want that, that's what I want. At what point did you make that decision? Did you think, right, now's the time? Was it did it just happen over a period of time and there was a straw that broke the camel's back, or was it an intentional timeline? How did you decide on it?
Not intentional, and almost proudly not intentional. I didn't sit there and go, by 40, I want to exit, I don't want to create the private office. Much like I'm not sitting there now in our business saying, and I want to do this thing by that date. Never. I want it always to feel authentic and organic. We're getting into verticals in our business that feel right at the time. And my career has been exactly that, actually. So I was that guy and I was doing those things that people can read about or we've touched on. And I felt really, really proud of it. But it got to a stage of I knew it could be better and done differently. And those points of difference actually became inauthentic to me. I'm not doing this in the way that I need to. You want to go and buy a house in Barbados? I've got to hand you over to somebody else who bluntly isn't as good as the team here that I've got for you, and I can't look after you. There was an incident in London at £54 million. Client comes to me and says, Trevor, we want to use you to go and buy this thing. We'll pay you 2%. That fee is significant. It's £1 million. I go to Savills and say, he's only going to buy that if I act for him. You can't. It's in London. It's out of your territory, and you sell, not buy. I'm like, well, hold on. Let me tell you the story again. He wants me to go and buy that thing for him, and the fee is significant. And actually, I can do that because the wheelhouse is the same. Of course, I know London. My offices were in the West End. I was there every day. But because of the confinements of those big businesses, and that isn't a criticism to them, by the way, when you've got so many people, you have to keep people in their boxes. But I could see that that wasn't the right thing to be doing. So it was those points of difference that I knew that I needed to go and do differently. Absolutely, there was a big opportunity. And there will be people, talent, real talent, sitting in those big firms right now, sharing those frustrations. They just haven't yet had the encouragement or almost the pay to be able. I was in the halcyon days, right? We were cutting really big checks. So it enabled me, I made money. So I was able to step out and go, I'm going to be bold and brave here. They're not doing that right now. So they'll be looking at people like me going, shit, I want to be in that.
Yeah, and it's too late. The opportunity's gone, I suppose.
In some ways, other than they can come and join us and come and do it under our brand.
And so talk to me about the buy side of things, because I suppose, when you're dealing with the lower end of the market, we all know how to buy a home. Why do people want to have an agent acting on behalf of them when they're buying?
In 2 or 3 years' time, and that isn't long, everybody over £5 million will be using a buy-side agent. Full stop. Why are they doing it? Number one, access and exclusivity. We are buying things for people that others don't know exist. It's never been in the market. It's not even touched an agent. Agents haven't been out to value it. My network is, and I don't say this with ego, quite phenomenal. When I started out in agency, I worked with a great guy, and He has gone on to do great things in his career, and he always uses me as a bit of a benchmark when he's talking to people, and he's really generous in saying that. His line is that Trevor Kearney can open any door that he chooses to. So if someone comes to me and says, I want a house in the Cotswolds at 15 million quid and it can't have ever been exposed to the market, we are doing that right now, and we've seen 30 houses that are grade A that no other agent had been in. The things we buy for people, I don't know the exact stat, I'm going to say 90% of the time, the first person through the door. No other buyer almost ever goes to see that house, and we create space for our clients. So yes, will we get them a good deal and things like that? Yeah, that isn't why they're doing it. They're doing it so they get the right asset. And actually, some of the people that we go and buy houses for, they don't want to go on Rightmove and say, hey, I'm looking for a house. They need and warrant representation. And we're doing that. So I think number one, they're coming to us because we can give them access to things that they don't know exist or that are out there. I know what good looks like is number two. I know what a great building is. And I know what things work and what don't work. And I've sold houses before where I've said to people, I'm not sure this is right for you. Do I want to do a 15 million quid deal with you? Yes, I do. But for these reasons, I'm not sure you should buy it. And that authenticity and truth is one of the things that I've built my reputation on. I just tell it how it is. And often they've gone, great, thank you for your advice, but we really want to do it. And they do it, and it's amazing. But there is also a segment in the market goes, oh my God, that's so valuable, you're so right. And they want that from me. So they're coming to someone like me because they want access to it, they want the truth around it, and they want someone to say you're doing the right thing. Ultra high net worths are time poor. They can have someone like me with 23 years experience. I've bought and sold £6 billion worth of real estate. I know what good is. So for me to go, do you know what, you're doing the right thing, that's amazing, is good enough for them to go, I'm going to go and commit 5, 10, 15, 50 million pounds. We wouldn't, you and I wouldn't today go and buy a piece of art without someone standing behind us saying that's a good buy.
Yeah.
If you're having if you're going to go and buy a suit and you have the wherewithal to do it, a tailor is probably making it for you because they know how to get it right. Our world's the same. It's becoming so much more popular and will be the only way that people do things.
And do you think there's sort of mileage, merit and opportunity in having buy-side representation below 5 million?
Yeah.
You know, is there a point at which it becomes inefficient?
No. Same rules apply,
So it's
right?
like the American model.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The American model is buy side, sell side. They come together and they make the deal work. No matter the value, why wouldn't you want that? I think in the UK, we're used to Rightmove at 500 grand giving us all the answers because everything's there. In a less competitive market, which is a market we have now, that's probably less important because it's going to go to Rightmove. I'm going to get to see it. Margins are much tighter. Do I want to pay someone 10, 15, 20 grand to go and do that? Probably not. Will it come? Yes. How many people do you know in your social circle that have bought the wrong thing? They've been convinced that that beautiful furniture is a reason to buy that house. Then that beautiful furniture goes, they turn up and go, shit, have I bought the right house here?
Yeah,
or is the location right?
And I guess interestingly, a lot of the time they've bought the wrong thing, certainly in terms of house, because they've been under pressure. And I suppose the benefit of having buy-side representation is it takes the pressure off because it's not on the market necessarily.
The whole thing I said earlier, I'm buying space for people, I'm giving them time. We're buying something for someone in the Cotswolds at the moment, and positively, we've kind of danced around it a little bit. And I think that the ultimate price we'll pay, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this in a public forum, is less than if we pulled the trigger quickly. And we have just created a bit of positive friction that allows us, not quite the upper hand, but time and space, that we know that when we execute and pull the trigger, we'll do it like that quick. But we have created something in it that will probably save us £500,000, £1 million. That's really valuable. My fee isn't £1 million to do it. They're up.
So in terms of tactics and channels then, so you know a lot of this is off market. Do you still use the traditional channels, or are there channels that you favour over others? I know you're very big on Instagram.
Yeah.
Have you sold houses through Instagram?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've done £1 or £2 billion worth of deals just because of Instagram, where buyers have come. I sold a house quite publicly for £25 million because I was in the house, I couldn't put it anywhere. The owners of it were friends of mine, and you're like, could I just put a little bit? What can just trying to tease it. Number one, I was really proud of the instruction, but number two, I knew it was so good that I wanted people to know about it. We ended up selling it for the highest price ever paid outside of prime central London at the time, and still the highest price per square foot ever achieved.
Wow.
Phenomenal, but a phenomenal
And you
house.
weren't even able to show it. You were just talking about it.
What I did, I filmed the outdoor pool jet going nuts.
Right.
And I was like, this house is mega. If I could, I would. Giving it all kind of the Trevor expletives around it. Someone sent me a message, were like, how good is it? And I was like, this is knockout good. I wish I could tell you, I just can't. They got on a G6, flew into the UK and paid a record price.
Wow.
So that is just one example. There are lots of them. We get lots of people messaging going, I could be in the market for, or I own, would you have anybody for? I'm a matchmaker. I put pieces of a puzzle together. So I'm like, yeah, hold that thought. I've got someone over here. Yeah. So we do a lot of business because of it. We get 3 million views a month on average across our channels. That's massive. And for a relatively new, small agency, that's huge. The big corporates aren't getting near that. And it works. So yes, Instagram's a big thing.
And has that changed, so your approach to Instagram as the private office versus when you were at Savills? Has your approach and your reach changed
yes.
there as well?
Yeah, it really has actually. So I didn't obviously run the corporate channels for other businesses, and I don't run it for the private office. And actually the private office's channel is much more slick, it's much more polished, it's not me, it's not about Trevor Kearney, where my channel, Super Prime Surrey, is, people are probably annoyed with how much they have to see me on it. And I did some content the other day, I started saying, mute me if you want to, because today I'm going to be full on and you might not want to see me this much. But actually people get something from it. So Super Prime Surrey is very authentic, very real. Today we're recording some behind the scenes because I want to put that out and share that with my audience. And you don't quite get the gloss on there, but I think people like that. On the private offices channel, it's very gloss, it's very high end. It's talking about all of the verticals in our business because it should. People know that I am the CEO and founder of that business, but that business is not about Trevor Kearney. It's called the Private Office Real Estate for a reason. It's my baby, but it's not for me. It's not just about me. This is about the people within that business and the people that we serve. Super Prime Surrey is all about me. I was at Estelle Manor at the weekend playing paddle with Rupert, and that's what mattered. And there'll be snippets of that on there. You're never going to put that on the private office channel. But actually, people like that, I think. Or maybe I'm getting it all wrong.
Mate, I love it. I follow it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think people like it because they see all sides of it and they get to see the real me, but also they get to see the bit that we achieve and that we do and all of that kind of stuff. So yes, I have to temper it and change it. But I'm becoming bolder with it in some ways, actually. I haven't got quite to the point of swear words. And people that spend time with me, probably think I need to not say as many swear words. But it's almost getting there in an elegant way, I hope. Because people want to see the real Trevor and the person behind the brand. That matters today more than anything. In a world of AI, I no longer like to put photos out of my stories. And we were saying this before we got into this room in our chat, because a photo can be so easily manipulated. I don't know if someone is truly on a jet or doing that thing or living that lifestyle or even having that cuddle on a Sunday morning with their family, unless it's a video. So I put out so much more in video now to go, no, it's really real. It's here. You can see me. You can hear, the sound of my breath in it. And I think that's important.
And what are the channels? Do you still sell houses through Rightmove as an agency?
Yes, we do, but not nearly at the volumes you'd expect. In fact, there is a revolution going on about Rightmove at the moment, and I'm not going to join that party. But Rightmove is phenomenally expensive to list on. I think it's our third biggest cost of our business. It's huge. And I'm not sure, really respectfully, it's warranted. We get more inquiries through our little black book and through Instagram than we do via Rightmove. In fact, I think we've probably sold 1 or 2 houses as a direct response from Rightmove. But I can't go out there today and go, we don't use Rightmove. It'd be commercial suicide. That'd be the wrong thing for me to do. So we're going to be there whilst it's still getting traction. Rightmove numbers for us are going down every single day.
So what's your pitch? I know a lot of, if you take a standard homeowner, they'll have 3 agents around and they'll all say, well, this is what the Rightmove, recently house sold house prices, show your house is worth, we're on Rightmove, we're on Zoopla, They don't really have a differentiator. When you're sitting in front of someone that has approached you to help them sell, what is your differentiator?
Me, my team, my business, my network, the little black book that I have. Nobody in industry has the access to people that we have. When you're selling your house, what do you want? A buyer. They don't care about the fluff and the noise and the bullshit, frankly, of us thinking we're great or whatever that thing is, or that I get 3 million views a month on Instagram. Great. And they do like eyes on, but they want to know, can you sell their house? Lots of people in this world can promote and communicate, but can they close? I am a deal maker. That is my skill set. I can make the unthinkable happen in the best ways. I will get somebody more for their house than anybody else, full stop. Because people want to go and do deals with us, and we know how to create deals. So when I go and pitch to somebody, I don't turn up with my iPad or the printouts of Rightmove stats or ever. They don't want that from me. They want...
Those days are done.
Like, I don't think I've ever done it, actually. I've worked in businesses where they've said, what's your prep beforehand? I prep the person, not necessarily the property. Yeah. If it's a super prime home that I'm going to see, I probably know it or know of it, or I know some detail around it. And we're great at our onboarding experience. We know everything before I go out there. I want to know about the person. I want to know what they're into, what their tick points are, what they want me to achieve for them. That is normally the best possible price in the soonest of time. The fundamentals of what I do, back to explain it to a 5-year-old, it's not that complicated. I buy and sell super prime properties for people. They want to know and have the conviction that Trevor Kearney can do it. What's interesting as pitching as the private office today is people want to know that I can still do it. They want to know that it's still me behind it. So they're kind of going, we're backing you. Trevor, we're with you. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you've got our support. And you're the only guy that we'd ever use to buy and sell houses. But is the business providing to you? And it's a genuine question.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So how do you scale? When people want you, how do you scale?
Great people.
Yeah.
So bring in great people. So I might be on that initial pitch and I will talk about my team, and some of the team might come with me. And it might be that I'm sitting there going, by the way, I think they're going to be better than me. They're a little bit what like Ian Camplin did for me. He gave me his little black book and he was saying to the market, he's the guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure he's doing it well, but he's the guy. And I'm doing that all of the time. And I'm the hardest working guy in every room. I'm over it in a way that people talk about, don't they? I work really hard. I do this bullshit. I'm obsessed. I'm on it 24/7. My team, Katie's in the room with us now, as you know, would have had messages from me at 4:30 Sunday morning going, I don't quite like the left-hand side of that image, the way it's showing on our website, and I think we should crop it because. Is that going to change the difference of selling that house? Never in a million years. And she probably picks up and goes, fucking hell, he's on it again. But if I do that over 1,000 things, that will be perfect. And every single thing in my business, we will get as right as we possibly can. And it's those differences. And people see that in me. I think that generally speaking, if you invite me into your home to talk about the potential sale of your house or for me to act for you, you're probably going to use me. So I'm not going through as many doors as I used to, and that's a very honest kind of feeling. I don't go and see as many as I do, but everything I go and see, they want to work with us. They know that we do things differently, and they know they get a bit of me.
And with the private office, is there a price point at which you go, that's not us? Is there a threshold?
No, actually, there isn't. People will assume there is, given our average sale prices at the level that it's in.
So what's the lowest house price that you would list?
We're selling something now at 950 grand. So I said earlier, it's about people over property. The property's got to be exciting. So the property is always best in class, but it's the people and the journey and the story that I want. We're selling something at Escapade at Silverstone at 950 grand. This is a futuristic looking, detached, they would call it an apartment, it's not. It's a single story, very cool space age gaff that's on Silverstone Racecourse. You can see the fucking cars going around the thing. I want to be part of that.
For 950, that sounds like a bargain.
For 950, worse still, you can't even live in it full time. But it's got a pool in the kind of the offering there, the clubhouse. It's got a pool, it's got a gym, it's got clubhouse facilities, it's got a restaurant. You can use it X amount of days a year. Would I normally go and list something at 950 grand? Probably not, because I probably can't do a good enough job. On this I can. Why? Because the person that buys something like that isn't a 950 grand buyer. They're a 10 million pound buyer who wants a toy. They're race car obsessed, or they've got a fleet of Ferraris they want to leave there in the garages and race around the circuit themselves. That's exciting to me. So it's best in class in the fact that it's really cool. I'd love to own it, really. It's super cool. And the person that's going to buy it will be super cool because they're not going to live in it. They're going to use it every other weekend or every once or twice a month, and they're going to race their cars around it. Well, they have another part of their lives I want to get to know. So it's not ever dictated by price, but it is dictated by who's selling it, and the people that are selling it are beautiful and amazing. The people that are going to buy it, I know will be interesting to me, And it's a really cool thing to be involved in. We're also doing stuff at, tens and tens and tens and tens of millions. They've got the similar story. And for the same reason, we want to be involved. So never dictated by price. There is a minimum fee level. We charge between 2 and 3% in what we do. I can't sell something at £1 million and I don't say this with any ego, and only earn £20,000 or £30,000 from it. It's not enough to sustain what we do in our business and to get me and our team and all of those things. So we have to price it accordingly, but our clients know that. Yeah. And actually to sell something like Escapade, you need more than a standard agency. You need my reach. You need me with a black book going, this billionaire or this ultra high net worth, they're the likely buyer. Putting that on Rightmove and someone who Googles or looks up Silverstone because they want a house there, that's never going to work. Yeah. But someone in our network is likely to do it. And our clients get that they've got to pay for that. And we always charge fairly, accurately, rightly, but in percentage terms, that wouldn't always look like the norm. But it's the right thing to do because we will deliver a sale at a better price than anybody else will, sooner than anybody else will, and they will enjoy that journey. That costs money.
And is it a fair assumption to say that the majority of our buyers are buying mortgage-free? I guess that's an assumption that I would make when you talk about these sort of numbers. In general?
Yes, in general. They'll buy it mortgage-free, but they will often take debt afterwards. They'll buy it with cash for speed because they're, I'm in, then they'll leverage it afterwards.
Okay, so with that in mind, when you've got someone spending 20, 30 million, you would assume that, let's say you were selling a house at 750. Generally, people are quite price sensitive.
Yes.
When you're selling at 20, 30 million, I guess the house is worth what someone's willing to pay for it, right? There's not too many benchmarks.
Yeah.
How do you deal with a negotiation when someone who's selling it knows that money is no object, ultimately, because they've got enough to be able to throw at it? How do you deal with a negotiation like that?
Really elegantly. The buyer and the seller of that house are much more successful than me. They are much more powerful than me. They are much more in tune to business than I am. Hopefully that's what I've become, but they are. They've already established. That's why they can afford a £25 million house, right? They're already in a space that I'm growing to. So I never try and be better. I deal with every negotiation without ego. And I've got to actually manage the ego and the preferences of these two people. I do that with total transparency, total honesty, total openness to what a deal should look and feel like. I take away every pain point in it. Sometimes it's as easy as they're just not selling it for less. If you want it, we have the chance to buy it, that's the number. And I'll try and support that number with evidence and these are the reasons why that's an okay number. To these guys, I'll be saying, look, there isn't a million of him or her over here. There are 2 or 3 people to buy your house in the UK at those numbers right now. Let's not get this wrong. Yeah. Let's deal with it really openly.
So is it rare negotiation actually happens at that kind of price point? It's almost like the price is the price.
No, it's hard fought actually.
Yeah.
And people have a walk away much quicker than they would if it was me buying my own house. I'd stay in the deal and I'd want to finesse it more. Yeah. People get to that point much, much quicker or much longer. Yes, we would take it. The market's not ready for it yet. Your client isn't ready for me to pull the trigger yet. And that means I'm not willing to give the price yet.
Yeah.
And it's my job to say, okay, cool. What does that look like for you? I'm a matchmaker in that thing. So those negotiations are more intense because the numbers are bigger, harder because of the nature of the people you're dealing with. My job is to simplify it and make it enjoyable for people. How many people come out of a negotiation and go, I really enjoyed that? They probably don't. The best deal you will ever do is where the seller believes that they have sold it too cheap and the buyer believes they have paid too much. That means the price is right. And that's and I'll tell people that's kind of where you want to get it to.
So clearly the private office, you've built your business around brand and perception. It's quite clear to see. If you took, Derek, the local agent, and you put him in your suit, put on your aftershave, put him in your car, could you train him to be a super prime agent? Is there a special ingredient?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is a secret sauce or something. Yeah. It's people. It's their ability to navigate situations and circumstances. Someone with trauma will be the best agent you have ever met. Someone who understands conflict will be the best agent you've ever met. Someone who's had to spend their life on their toes. I operate in the 98th percentile at very, very high frequency. And that gives me that flight or fight kind of ease of movement where not everybody has that. And I'm not saying you have to have all of those things to be the best. And I'm not saying that I'm the best, but the best out there have all of those things. If I look at the people that I admire in our industry and what they do, they are able to maneuver very quickly. They are able to communicate really effectively, no matter who you are in that thing. There is lots of talk, isn't there? You have to be a chameleon. No, you don't. You have to be authentic and real to yourself because people will recognize that within you and they'll want to work with you. Could we take Derek, the 45-year-old agent who has respectfully plodded along in local agency life to become something radical or different? No. Could I take the 19-year-old who's got something, a spark, an ingredient, and make them the very, very best? Yes. I have someone in our business at the moment called Olivia. Olivia is 21, 22. Sharp, considered, incredibly eloquent. She could become a superstar. And there are other people in my business who are phenomenal. I'm saying Olivia's name because I can see what Olivia has the ability to become. She, interestingly, doesn't have those things that I've just said, but she has something else about her. Her willingness to listen, her understanding of people, her desire to get it right in a way that others aren't willing to go to, and the lengths that she'll go to for people.
Amazing.
She'll will and succeed. Can I bring that out of people? 100%. I've had amazing mentors and leaders in my life that have brought it out of me. But I think the very, very best, you've got to get them early, and they've got to be adaptable and susceptible to what that thing looks like. Harder to do if you've done it all your life, you've been in that space forever. But actually, there are people that sit Derek at 45 down the road in his pinstripe suit, can become something great if he's got something great within him and no one's let it out yet. Just harder to find.
And there'll be people, the mainstream market is without a doubt flooded, with average agents. Yeah. Is the super prime market flooded? Is there opportunity there?
It is flooded. It's flooded with people. And actually, this brokerage model has done it. Everybody is a super prime specialist. No, you're not. I see stuff on Instagram every single day where people are talking about Wentworth and St George's Hill and this deal and that deal. They were nowhere near it. There's someone on Instagram in London that shows other people's houses and deals, talks about them with great authority, and is actually doing a great job. I kind of admire it. They're nowhere near that deal. They're nowhere near that thing. But if I'm a viewer, I might assume that they did
passing it as his own, yeah, fair.
I have a view of it, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. So it's becoming flooded because anyone can get in their car and go like that on a big red brick house and say, I'm an expert. My view is, show me the deals that you've done. We've just done a presentation to a client where it was a very specific white rendered or stone house at a certain price point. Very big, very well known, the kind of deal that I like to do. And we put a report together for them. It was very comprehensive. So as well as you see Trevor, this guy, actually we've got data and we know what we're doing behind the scenes and we're very, very polished as a business. We did a report where Katie showed it to our head of brand, Sophie, who was phenomenal. And she said, you've got to change the houses. In them 10 examples, you've used the same house. And she's gone, no, they're all different. They looked so similar, but they were 10 deals that I've done of replicas of that thing. That's what a super prime specialist looks like. I've done over 100 deals over £10 million. That's real. That's caliber. That's directional. That's intentional. I know what a super prime house is. I know what good looks like. That's real. The market isn't flooded with those. There are probably a handful of agents in the UK that I would say to you are phenomenal. Really phenomenal. And they'd be the people that I'd want to go and do a big deal with. If I'm buying a house, they're the people I go to first. I know that they know what good looks like. But if you looked at it from an outsider, it's becoming very flooded. And I'm not sure that's good.
And this word, so at the top end of the market, we can see what luxury is like, but this word gets banded around, at very, very average houses are termed luxury.
Yep.
How does that make you feel when you know what luxury is and you see some pretty Mickey Mouse stuff?
We don't use it. I won't. Luxury to you and to me are two different things, actually. Who am I to assume what luxury is to you?
I love that. So you're at the top end and you don't even use it. That speaks volumes. Yeah.
No, in any of my vocabulary, on any of our listings, in anything we promote or do, it's like, no, it doesn't work for me because, number one, it's overused. Toilet roll uses luxury, right? Literally, they do. Luxury ply or whatever they say. And that tells you it's shit, literally. So therefore, never, ever, ever. We talk about what makes it better. Yeah. We will sell on the reasons of what we know excellent is. The word luxury doesn't mean anything, from ply on your toilet roll to a holiday to clothing even says it. No, tell me the thread count and I'll decide if it's luxury or not. And what's luxury to you is different to me. So we just don't use it. I think it's bandied about too much, as you rightly say, and it just doesn't mean anything to me. If you're using it, you don't know it. You don't understand it.
Do you think you could sell low end if you had to start again?
Yeah, I'd love it.
Yeah.
Choosing my words really carefully, I hope I'm building a life and an ecosystem that I won't necessarily have to go and do that. Yeah. Would I? Tomorrow. Bang, like that. Yeah. And I think I'd do a really bloody good job at it because the fundamentals are the same. I'd quite enjoy the volume. Yeah. I remember when I started at an agency.
Yeah, I suppose you've got so much more opportunity, haven't you?
Oh my God. Yeah. And the point of difference can be so much quicker and easier. Yeah. And actually, that's how we were saying earlier about how I built what I've built in my career. It's because I had a point of difference. I was doing it. I remember the market was going gangbusters. I was selling cottages at 500 grand. We would give out offer forms at the end. So it wasn't are you going to buy? You're going to want to buy it, and here's a form. Well, the market isn't like that today, and the volumes aren't like that today. But I would love that. I see in my future, hopefully we go on and build the private office to be the number one operator in the ultra high net worth space. I want to create something that is so firmly cemented in the ecosystem of the verticals that we choose that truly you don't make a decision without asking an advisor in our business. That's a very big goal and a very big dream. But actually that world is quite small. So that's my ambition for it. Hopefully one day somebody might come along and go, I'll give you £1 billion for it because you've nailed it. If they did that, I might go and do that. I think there is space for a business that looks like that brings all of the ingredients of super prime into a mainstream market. That business overnight would become number one. I admire what Michael Bruce did with Purple Bricks. Michael Bruce is a client of mine. I hope he doesn't mind me saying this.
So I know Kenny, his brother.
Right, okay, there you go. Great guys.
Yeah. And
what they did with Purple Bricks was phenomenal. I think if we sat with Michael and Kenny now, they might tell us they scaled it too quickly or whatever reason that is for the business changing in the way that it is. That idea was genius. They were almost too early to it. Think of that concept, now put phenomenal agents, a brand that people wanted to aspire to, and all of those things with the model of what Michael and Kenny dreamed up. Genius. I understand they're back at Purple Bricks now. Watch this space. Two very, very smart men. The fact that Michael is a client of mine tells you how Michael lives. Michael's done really, really well. I have so much time, so much respect for him. I think Purple Bricks could enter a new phase because he is genius. I think that the challenger to that could be very exciting. High volume, lower end, with all of the funk, excitement, joy of super prime in it. I'd like to give that a go one day.
But it sounds like a lot of the reason for success behind the private office, obviously it's the people that support you, as well as your profile and the personal brand that you've built. With this self-employed agent model, that's all about personal brand, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Would you say that can be the differentiator for the average estate agent? If they build that personal brand in their profile, they can, I'm not saying, selling £20 million homes, but they can achieve success beyond their wildest dreams.
Yes. So I have a philosophy of know me before you need me. So that's why one of the reasons that I do things on Instagram. People will be following me and they might not want to buy or sell today, but they know that I exist and that I'm there and I can pull the trigger when they're ready. And people want that. I get a lot of DMs from young, more aspirationally led agents saying, how? Or how do I get into super prime? Or how do I do this? That isn't the answer necessarily. Build an online presence. Build a brand within yourself. I managed to do it within the two biggest brand in real estate. If I could do it there, you can do that in a local agency better than anybody else ever could. Show your secret sauce. Don't be afraid of it. Elevate yourself. Tell people how you're doing things differently. Give them the why. Be authentic. Tell the truth. People are afraid of it, no matter the segment of the market. I think that you could go into a small local agency today and make it, I could make it number one 6 months because I just had some of that sparkle and ingredient. And I think that the founders of those businesses now, they're phenomenal, by the way, and none of this is negative to them. I know how hard it is to succeed in business right now. And I know how hard it is owning your own show. It is fucking brutal, but it's amazing. And I think that founders, people who are in their business, find it hard to pivot sometimes. I find it hard to pivot, so I know it. If they had somebody coming in and showing them how to pivot in that space, they would do phenomenally well. So an agent in there, they can do it because they haven't got the worry of P&L. They haven't got the worry of the next listing.
I think what's really interesting, what you just said there, is that you built your personal brand, with the backing of Savills and Knight Frank behind you. And I think there's probably a lot of people that think, one day I'd love to do my own thing. And actually they don't realise that if they've got a big brand or an impressionable business behind them, that they've got this opportunity to start that on somebody else's time. It's kind of too late. Once you've left and you do it, it's too late, isn't it?
You're not building in that. I came out of that environment with a big name, having done big deals. I was somebody that mattered in that space.
Yeah.
You can't leave it, not do it, and then try and become somebody. What is interesting though, and I had the opportunity to build a personal brand within those businesses before people had done it. Now, I can't see it. I can't see that if I tried to create now within a big brand that they would allow me to it. At the end of my tenure at Savills, despite the seat that I sat in, despite my billings, despite who I'd become in our industry, they were very, very nervous of who I was, what I was doing, how I was doing it. It was always with best practice in mind. It was always totally authentic. It was always very real, but they became so nervous of it. I'm not sure these big businesses would let someone do it again.
So do they have guardrails now to stop situations like this?
God.
Because I saw in your stories last week that Knight Frank have now adopted the self-employed model.
Yeah,
is that
so
right?
they have just announced a brokerage model within their business. I'm watching it really closely to see what that might look like. And I'm excited for them, by the way. It'll be interesting to see how a business as traditional as theirs will do that. I think the struggle that they'll have is, I'm self-employed around this table, you're not. You're paid a basic salary, I'm not. I'm going to get 50% of what I bill. You might get 8 or 9% of what you bill. How does that sit? Probably not very comfortably. I've got to eat what I kill. So your territory, I might really quietly just look about, try and take a bit of it. You're not going to enjoy that. So let's see how that...
So do you think this might be the start of the end for big agency brands?
I sat on the board at Savills in their executive residential business. I was telling them for 10 years they need to adopt a brokerage model, stop paying people how they were paying them and doing that thing. They thought that was all led because of my ego, because I was building this big personal brand, because I thought that was right. It wasn't. It's because where I could see the industry was going. They now know this. Look at the names in our industry who are doing it. I think that almost exclusively, the talent has left big agency and they're either doing their own thing or they've joined someone like me who's doing their own thing. And I don't see today the biggest names in terms of names of corporates. I don't want to name them as I give a negative view of them because I think they're amazing. They're not going to allow you to do that. They want you to stay in your box. They wanted me to stay in the box. Yes. Savills would be the number one without compromise. In London today, Sotheby's are number one in my view. And they're number one because they're allowing people to do that thing. They're an interesting business. They're a business that you would naturally understand that they approached me before I did the private office. They've approached me while I've had the private office. You'd expect that. It's not a business for me. But what they've done in London is phenomenal. Savills and Knight Frank allowed them to do that by not adopting that thing. You lose traction in London, you lose traction globally. London is still a powerhouse. You lose traction in London, you're certainly losing it in the country. Those two brands have been decimated in the super prime space. If they'd have done it, they would have done phenomenally well. They didn't want to pay people. At the time at Savills, there was 2, 3, 4 of us earning really significant money. They seen that our lifestyles were changing. They seen what we were doing. They didn't like if I posted the wrong bottle of wine because it was too dear or I was on a private jet or it made them very nervous. I kept saying to them, no, promote that. Say if you work really hard and you do these things, you can have that too. because it was authentic, it was real. I really was living that life. So say to people that you can go and get it as well.
Yeah.
Never. They were too afraid of it. They are juggernauts. I don't mean this disrespectfully. They're juggernauts going in one direction. They're too scared to turn the wheel. Knight Frank have just half turned it by saying we're going to adopt a bit of both. If 5 years ago Savills had said we're adopting it, we're doing it, almost throwing everything at it, there wouldn't be space for another agency in the UK, let alone everything that's going on now.
Amazing. So it's kind of like the blockbuster Netflix moment, isn't it? Where
Yeah.
someone came along.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Did it differently, did it better, and actually, are we going to see these brands start to die away?
In the residential space, yes. A lot of them are very, very strong commercially. And I wonder if too strong commercially. I think that for some, their agency offices on Cobham High Street or Anisha High Street or in where we are right now, I think that they use that as an advertising platform to keep the name in the minds of their big corporate or institutional people, because that's where they make all of their money. They're not making it out of their residential businesses. But you can. You can make phenomenal sums out of residential businesses. They're not focusing on it. So I don't think they cared enough, respectfully, about that size of the business.
But do you think it's because we've got to a point? I mean, agency fees at the moment are ridiculously low. If you're a high street agent, they're doing things at 0.5%. And like you've said, you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't get out of bed for less than 2-3%.
No, ever.
Have we just reached that point now where it needs a reset? And actually, the public mindset towards agency.
It's perception, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's how you, estate agents and traffic wardens, probably similar types of people in your mind. But actually, these are people that are going to help you fulfill your dreams. These are people that are going to, and I don't mean that too holistically, but they are. If you want to buy that house, you need to have a relationship with the guy who's going to help, or girl who's going to help you go and get it. They're also potentially selling your biggest asset for you. The difference in how they behave or act or negotiate could cost you certainly tens of thousands of pounds. My world, millions of pounds. That's a really valuable service, really valuable. Anybody else in other walks of life, if that was your doctor, you'd pay them trillions. If you could save someone's life, if you could do these things. And I'm not saying we're the same as that, but we are a massive integral part of moving, obviously, naturally. So we should be rewarded better. I pitch against two of the big firms, and I pitched last week where someone was at 0.75% and I was at 2.25%. 2.25% saying to myself, I should be at 2.5 here, and shared that. I'm as direct as it comes. We won that piece of business, and they could have had a counterpart at 0.75. Our average fee at the private office last year was 2.18%. That's great. That's a good model. But our clients got all 2.18% of us. I can guarantee you they got more than 2.18% on their price or on their saving on their buy or whatever that is. But we are pitching against big firms with big budgets that just aren't winning that business. I know at previous firms I was at that the cost of sale for every house was about £20,000. At 2 million quid, at 0.75%, that's 15 grand. You haven't made any money at 2 million quid.
Yeah.
If we were doing that, we would make a margin of £20,000 or £30,000. That's quite significant.
So
if you
how
do
do they
100.
level up then from here? How do those brands...
They don't. They can't.
Interesting.
How do you? Unless they change the offering. Unless they start to do things better. Right now, they're not. So actually, if you're getting one of the big brands in to pitch against me or another really great boutique agency who do a really good job for people, you're going to pay them more because you know what they do differently. You also know you are probably getting somebody very senior within that business looking after you. You're willing to pay for that, especially at the top end of the market.
So if someone's listening to this at the moment and they're thinking, wow, what a journey, similar shoes maybe, late teens, and they're thinking, I'd love to be in that position. What advice would you give to them to start that journey?
Start it. Go do it. Do it authentically. Do it with as much gusto as you can. Give it energy. Commit to it. Know that you have to work harder than anyone you have ever met in your life. At 20 today, that generation, there'll be a letter, won't there? There'll be Gen something. They're probably not surrounded by people that are grafting hard enough. Our generation was. We look at people around us going, wow, you work really, really hard, especially if you come from a humble background like I did. I've seen people graft to put food on the table, let alone to go and have a Ferrari or a Bentley or whatever it might be. You have to graft harder than anybody else. If you can do that as your authentic self, you will win. Go and find your point of difference. Your point of difference might be something that you don't even realize, but go and show it and do it. And take advice. Pick up the phone to people like me. I'm willing to give so much of that, almost too much of it. But I'm willing to do it because I want that next generation. I want my industry to have it because guess what? I need them in my business.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want that next generation coming through. So the advice is go and do it authentically, do it with heart. Find your point of difference. Make sure you're online and you're seen. Even if that is showing a 2-bedroom semi in Liverpool at 100 grand and you're showing up every single day. People will respect it, they'll get it, and they'll feel your energy. So just get out there and do it.
Yeah, put the yards in. And what, success never comes without a cost. What are the costs that you've bared along the way?
Wow. Loads. Friendships, relationships, how I parent. And I have tried really, really hard as the private office to realign all of those things. And I'm very conscious we've had an enjoyable, kind of jovial conversation in some ways, not to be too deep with it. But it's come with huge sacrifice. My little boy, Rupert, anyone that follows me or anyone that's around me knows how important he is in my life. And he is everything without compromise. I think for the first few years of his life, I probably didn't parent in the way, not that I should have. The roles in my family life were really clear. Trevor goes out and grafts and does all that thing, and everything else is managed in a different kind of way. I should have been there more. I should have seen those early years in a way that I didn't. I'm making up for it, and I'm getting to see the most beautiful times. I co-parent Rupert 50-50, and I'm all over it. I love it. It's the best thing about my life. But I missed those first couple of years in a way that I shouldn't. I've lost friendships. I haven't done things. There's relationships that I'd probably like to be in today that I work too hard. A client of mine said to me the other day, are you dating at the moment? What does that look like? And I gave him my answer, and I was very brutal and honest with my answer. And he was like, that's because you're married to your business.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of me that sunk going, oh, shit, is that how it comes across? No, I don't want to be. I want to have this ultra fulfilling little house on the prairie life over here. And I really desperately, deeply want that. But the way that I work, with the intensity that I work, it's going to afford me the ability to have that, but it isn't necessarily giving me the time to have that. But I'm learning, and I invest my time in the same way that I invest my money. It's considered, it's with intent, it's doing the things that are bringing me joy. And this weekend I had the most fabulous weekend with friends and with Rupert, and we spent Sunday at at Estelle Manor, and we were playing paddle and we were eating loads and drinking loads and having fun and joy. That's because I'm not letting business be the cost of it. The flip side is actually a learning. I'm in the right place. I'm with the right people. I'm doing the right things. I'm in an environment that I'm learning from. All day yesterday, I would have picked up on things that I will take into our business today. That's powerful too, but I've just got to be in the moment. So I've sacrificed a lot, too much. But the life that I'm giving myself, I'm giving Rupert, and I'm going to give to what my future is, and still to my past, is really important to me. So maybe I had to do that. And I'm willing to take the sacrifices. I'm just leaning in much harder in each moment. I've come here today with intent and with joy. And we had a beautiful conversation before the camera started rolling. That matters to me. When I get back in the car, Katie will have a list of things that I've missed since I've been here. I'm going to lean straight back into that. Yeah. So that I'm not sacrificing those points.
Yeah, amazing. And we've all had people who've influenced us along our journey. What's the best advice that you've been given in property?
Gosh, in property, buy what adds value. Location, all of those things. And that really matters. And we give that advice every day. The things that I think have impacted me in my career in property is much more fundamental than that. They are much deeper than that. In this studio that we're recording, there's a load of books, isn't there? And the Let Them theory, and I think there's some Malcolm Gladwell Blink and things like that. And I'm a big reader, I'm a big thinker, and I take things from all of those. The theory of don't eat the elephant whole, take it in bite-sized chunks and things like that. That matters to me. I take advice from a lot of people. How I disseminate it is very different. Be careful of the advice that you take and how you use it. That's a good piece of advice. Trust your gut in a deal, in your personal relationships, in your life, in your family, in whatever environment we have. I've come in here today and felt good about what we're doing and how it's done and the team that you have around you. That's exciting. Trust your gut in it. If I didn't, I probably wouldn't have been able to be as authentic or as enjoy this moment as much. So I think trust your gut is something that I say to a lot of people. And that's because if we trust our gut is just as intelligent as our brain. Do that and you'll navigate it the right way.
Amazing. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation with you, and I don't want to end on a downer, but if everything went south today, what would be the first thing that you did tomorrow?
You said this to me earlier, and I said to you...
I warned you.
You did. Thank you for warning me, because touch wood, that never, ever happens. Yeah. And I work too hard for it to happen. And I manifest the fact that it won't. But that's a big thing for me. I never want to think about it.
Yeah.
I don't sit there and think about if it goes wrong. I think about how I can make it better. Yeah. And before I left the office today, our head of brand, Soph, who I mentioned earlier, said about that question. She was like, no. You're someone that always leaves enough on the table to go back and keep eating. And that's exactly right. What I've built and the fundamentals of who I am and what I can create, there's always going to be crumbs there to pick back up on. What do I do differently? I think you take all of the learnings you've had, you invest in people and time and things in the right way that maybe I haven't before. I have made huge mistakes in my life, mistakes I'm super embarrassed about personally or professionally. I've made mistakes in the private office. I've hired the wrong people. The biggest mistake I've had at the private office is trusting people too much, not trusting my gut. Buying the bullshit of I'm the best at, and me going, great, if you say you are, then you're coming on this journey with me. I've got it really wrong sometimes, but I fix it quickly. I adapt, I change, I do all those things. Do I think I could rebuild? Yes, I could. Quicker, faster, better, and actually in a way that is more complete and more compelling. But I hope that I'm never there. I hope I never need to do it because of what I'm building and what I'm creating. But that's all for the grace of God, right? I'm very lucky to sit in the position I am today, and never, ever, ever will I ever think that I'm better than it. Never, ever, ever will I not forget where I came from, who I am, and the fundamentals that built Trevor Kearney. I know what hungry tastes like. I grew up in an environment that is not the environment that we're talking about today. Could I build myself from that again? Yeah, I could. And fucking watch me if I need to, because I'll do it quickly, I'll do it well, and it'll be the story that everyone wants to talk about. Do I want to? Please, never. I don't want to have to ever do that. And I mean that very sincerely. That's a manifestation I don't want in my life. But people can, and people do. And actually, if anybody's going through that right now, because people do, that is for the grace of God. You can make the wrong move or the wrong deal or the world. I've launched the private office at a time that is probably the worst time in the last 20 or 30 years to launch a business like I've launched. It's tough, really tough. There's pressures on our bank balance every single day. I'm having to work harder and smarter and all of those things. But if you are in that position today and you haven't got that, know that you can do it. Know that you will rebuild. Know that actually there are great people who are around you that you might not even know that will help you. So anyone that's going through that now, come and talk to me. If there's one thing I can do to help you, I will. Because great people deserve it, need it, warrant it, and I will do that. And they should know that there's probably a lot of people. I've met you for the first time, luckily today, and I feel blessed to have. I believe you do that too.
Absolutely.
So they should reach out to other good people
Absolutely.
that can help them.
Yeah, and I think, that's the thing in business, isn't it? We're all in the same boat. Everyone wants to succeed, but wants to see other people succeed.
Yeah.
And I think there's this real culture that's come about in the UK where everyone seems to be for themselves. And, you hear all about Dubai and, where everyone's out there for each other. And I just think there's more of that to be had, I think, in this country, and support.
We don't share enough. We don't talk enough. We don't talk about our vulnerabilities enough. I'm a massive advocate of therapy and things like that. I've had 115 therapy sessions. I say really proudly because it matters. I'm not sure many 40-year-old guys that sit in my seat would sit there and say they need it. I do need it. I have to share every day with different people what is weighing heavy on my heart, on my head, on my shoulders, because it matters. We're not a culture of doing that today. We need to become it. And we need to feel okay of going, this is really tough for me, or fuck, I feel shit about this thing. And people to put their arm around one another a little bit more. They do that in Dubai beautifully. The business that we've done there, or friends that are there, or people that I see doing business there, it's, oh, that came to me from there or there, or I picked up the phone and they said this to me. That's magic. We need to do that more here. The secret of living is giving. Let's all give a little bit more. A great buddy of mine said that the more he gives, the more he gets. We are selling his house for £10 million at the moment. He's done really well. Yeah. And he deserves it because of how much he gives. I think we all need to do a bit more of that.
Amazing. Look, you have been absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
I've been inspired by you for a long time. Watching you create and grow the private office has been amazing. I can't wait to see, where you take it. And I just, appreciate you being so open and honest with this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to do it and actually giving me the space to talk and sharing the way that I have. I appreciate you. Thank you. We should do it again another time and see what comes of it.
I would love to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for watching the InProperty podcast. Tune in for the next episode.